What's up guys, it's Momo, and it's the end of the year, and if you know anything about me, it's that I read a lot. As you can see from the stacks of books that are ever so slightly in the frame. So today, we're going to talk about every single book that I read this year. I don't even know how many there are. There's a lot. There's two little piles, and we're gonna hope they don't fall over in the process of filming this video. Starting in January, at the very beginning of the year, Cersei by Madeleine Miller. It was okay. Yeah, it was okay. I'm not really good with slow-paced plots at all, so that's kind of why I didn't like it. If you have a different opinion, that's fine, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but overall, I thought this book was just okay. I gave it 3 stars. It put me in a reading slump. Sorry. 6 of Crows. This book brought me out of a reading slump because I couldn't put it down, and it is my favorite book ever. I love the Grishaverse. 5 stars. Love it. Amazing, beautiful, wonderful. Go read 6 of Crows. I'm just like throwing these books behind me. There's gonna be like a pile by the end of this video. We're just gonna move that over there. And of course, after I read 6 of Crows, I had to read the sequel, which was Crooked Kingdom. Again, amazing, 5 stars. I love all of Leigh Bardugo's books. Read this. Read 6 of Crows, read Crooked Kingdom. Amazing. We're not going to talk about what happens in chapters 39 and 40. Nope, not going there. Anyway, that broke me. And then after I read those, I figured out the Grishaverse was a thing, and that I was reading it entirely out of order. So the next thing I read was the Shadow and Bone trilogy, starting with, obviously, Shadow and Bone. Amazing, loved it. Go read it. I think I either gave this 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads. Amazing. We love Alina. We love Jenya. We love Mal. We love Mal in this house, okay? We are Melina stands here. I don't like the Darkling. Anyway. Moving on. That's Ruin and Rising. That is not the right book. Siege and Storm. Nikolai, best book boyfriend of all time. My man. Is the only thing I remember about this book. 90% of the plot points that I can name. Actually, every single plot point that I can name in this book. Yeah, it has to do with Nikolai. So I gave this 4 stars because this book falls into like that middle book in a trilogy syndrome. But it's still really good, and it's really important if you want to read this. Best final battle in the Grishaverse, by the way. Best final battle in a book. Ruin and Rising. Amazing. The ending was absolutely beautiful. I think I gave this 5 stars. It was a good book. It was a good ending to that trilogy that left the characters that needed to be left open, and it closed out Alina's story in such a wonderful way, and I really liked it. Then King of Scars happens, and what's the plot of this? Zoyalai? Is Zoya and Nikolai the plot? That's the plot, right? Right? That's the plot. I'm kidding. There is an actual plot, and it's really good. We get to see Nina again after the events of Crooked Kingdom. Again, we're not going to talk about the ending of Crooked Kingdom. But yeah, it's really good. It gets more into the political side of Nikolai's thinking and how he really is this like strategist, and he knows what he's talking about. He's not just pretty. Like he knows what he's talking about, and he really does care about Ravka, and we see this a lot in his books. And closing out the Grishaverse, the very, very thick book that is Rule of Wolves. Great ending. Great Amazing ending. Oh my god. 5 stars. Loved it. Amazing. Nikolai and Zoya. Blue hair ribbon. If you know, you know. 6 of Crows 3 opened up at the end. What? Yeah. Anyway. Read The Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. Thank you. And then I had book hangover and I didn't know what to do with myself. Moving on. Mockingjay. I think I gave this 4 stars. I think. I don't know. It was really good. I've seen the movies. I know what happens. I read the first 2 in middle school and I just wanted to finish it. So that's kind of why I read Mockingjay. Red, White, and Royal Blue. I read this because I saw it on TikTok and it looked fun. And it was a really fun book. I really, really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 5 stars. This is the first romance, this book, I think, that was just strictly romance that I read. It was good. It is an adult book, though. Be aware if you're going to read it. It is an adult book, and there is a bit of spice, which I was not expecting, because I thought this was young adult. I was shocked when I was reading it. But either way, it was really funny. The story is... I think the story is pretty decent. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like it was a fun book that I read this summer. One of my favorite romance books ever. These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Oh my god. It is beautiful. It is Romeo and Juliet in 1920 Shanghai. I love Roman Monchkov so much. Enemies to lovers. It's like friends to enemies to forced to work together to kind of friends to lovers. That's kind of like how it goes. I don't know. It's amazing. And then back to enemies. If you know Romeo and Juliet, you think you know where it's going, and Chloe Gong just blows your mind. Yeah, read. If you like enemies to lovers and you like Romeo and Juliet to any capacity, These Violent Delights. Read it. And then I just made myself happy by reading a Percy Jackson book again. I really love Battle of the Labyrinth. It's my favorite in the original 5 Percy Jackson books. Peep the seaweed brain hoodie. Yeah, but I love this book. Read Percy Jackson. Cruel Prince is what I read after that. I knew to go into this book not thinking it was a romance. Because it's not. It's about fantasy politics. It's not, like, the enemies to lovers between Jude and Cardan is there, but it's really not, like, a main thing until you're almost at the end of the 2nd book in this trilogy. I really liked this, and I didn't think I was going to. The Cruel Prince trilogy is going to get its own video, because I have a lot of thoughts on the Cruel Prince trilogy. Yeah. This book it set up everything you needed to know. It built the world perfectly. And I don't know, I just love Jude as a protagonist because she's not your typical, I'm not like other girls. She's like, no, she's like, I'm a mortal living in a fantasy world. And she's like, I need to figure out how to live in this fantasy world, you know? Like, I need to do what I have to do, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. And I love that for Jude. Cardan's an asshole in this book, okay? He really is. He's an antagonist for pretty much the entire book. So keep that in mind if you're expecting, like, full-on enemies to lovers in the first book. It's about fantasy politics. I'm sorry to break it to you. Then continuing with the Cruel Prince series, The Wicked King. This book actually didn't fall into that, like, 2nd book slump. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of action sequences and fighting, and it was so good. It's really, I don't know. These 3 books show the dynamics of gaining power and losing power, and the thought processes of, like, these fantasy beings in power alongside this mortal girl that's practically nothing to them. Amazing. And then closing out is probably my favorite book in the trilogy, The Queen of Nothing. So so good. This is where the enemies to lover, this is where Jude and Cardan's relationship is like there. So when people are saying that The Cruel Prince is an enemies to lovers story, they are referring to the ending of The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing. They are not referring to the first book whatsoever. Again, read this. They are amazing, and it's not your typical like fairy, like fae kind of a story. It's not what you expect going into it. So like don't have expectations going into The Cruel Prince is kind of all I have to say. I found this at Target one day and I wanted it because it looked pretty. But it was way better than I thought it was gonna be. Like, I don't know, the magic system in the book is kind of cool because they're not like your typical magic system in like a fantasy world. It's like barely even fantasy. I don't know, like they control, like the witches in the book, they just control like the climate and the weather. But it's like, I would call it like a romance, honestly, because so much of like what the characters do is like tied to the romance in the book. I really enjoyed this and I didn't think I was going to, but I would give it a read. It was cute. I liked it. Oh, somebody's texting me. And as I said, I loved these Violent Delights. Our Highland Ends came out in November. Oh my god, it was beautiful! 5 out of 5 stars. I had to write a Goodreads review about it, and I usually just like give my book my stars and like that's that. I don't usually leave reviews. I had to leave a review on this book. Definitely one of my favorite books of the year. One of my favorite books ever, probably. It was amazing. It tied everything together from the first book. Yeah, again, you think you know what's happening from a certain point because of Romeo and Juliet, and you really don't, and you never really will in these books, but it was just beautifully written, and it had an epilogue, which is something that Romeo and Juliet did not have, but it needed just for like confirmation on things and like closure. Yeah, read Our Highland Ends. It was absolutely amazing. It blew my mind. The writing is beautiful, the story is beautiful, the characters are amazing. Read it. Just read it. And there's a book that I'm currently reading, which I'm desperately trying to finish, Red Queen, before New Year's. I'm almost done, so there will be text on the screen somewhere if I finish this book before New Year's. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed my little recommendation video, kind of, sorta, not really, of me screaming about all the books that I read this year. I cannot speak English right now. And I hope that you got some good recommendations out of the ones that I really, really loved, because they were really good, and I truly recommend any of them, except for maybe Cersei. I don't know, I didn't vibe with it. I loved every single book I read this year, and I can't wait to read more next year. Anyway, I just hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!